There comes a moment in every relationship when love stops being a feeling and becomes a mirror that reveals who we truly are, what we fear, and what we secretly desire. A man moving slowly in love is often misunderstood, especially in a world that celebrates fast affection and instant emotional gratification. But when you look at this behavior through the lens of psychology, particularly Jungian insight, you begin to see that slowness is not a sign of indifference. It is a sign that the unconscious mind is working beneath the surface, processing emotions with caution, sincerity, and depth. Men often carry emotional patterns formed long before they meet the woman who awakens something real within them. These patterns influence how they respond to intimacy, vulnerability, and connection. When a man feels something genuine, his inner world becomes active, alert, and sensitive to every detail of the unfolding bond. And this is what makes him move slowly. In Jungian terms, the unconscious does not respond to speed, but to meaning. Emotions that matter take time to settle into the psyche. When a man senses that you are not merely a fleeting presence, but someone who may influence his life, his choices, and his emotional identity, he instinctively slows down. This slowness is a kind of inner preparation. He is not stalling, he is grounding himself. He is allowing his emotions to align with his thoughts, his instincts with his hopes, and his fears with his desires. For him, the deeper the feeling, the more carefully he steps. He does not want to make impulsive moves that could damage something that feels significant. Many men are taught early in life to appear strong, collected, and unaffected. Emotional expression is not always encouraged. So when love begins to enter their life, it activates parts of the psyche they are not used to navigating. This activation creates a kind of inner tension, a mix of longing and apprehension. Slowness becomes a protective mechanism, not against the woman he cares for, but against the possibility of losing control over emotions that he normally keeps contained. A man moving slowly is often a man trying to understand what this connection means for his inner stability. Another reason men move slowly is because love requires safety, not physical safety, but psychological and emotional safety. A man may admire your beauty instantly, but he reveals his heart only when he feels he can trust the space between you. Trust isn't built through speed, it is built through consistency, observation, silence, and shared emotional moments. Jung believed that true connection happens when the soul feels recognized. A man who feels recognized by you becomes deeply attentive to your reactions, your values, and your emotional energy. He is evaluating whether this connection is safe enough for him to bring his hidden self into the light. This slowness is also a form of emotional integration. Love introduces new feelings, new possibilities, and new vulnerabilities. A man's psyche needs to integrate these experiences before he can move confidently. Quick affection often lacks depth because it hasn't passed through the layers of the unconscious. But slow affection is processed, internalized, and understood at a level that transforms him. He is trying to ensure that his actions come from authenticity, not desire alone. He wants his words to match his intentions, and his intentions to match his heart. A man who moves slowly may also be observing your emotional rhythm. He wants to understand how you communicate, how you react under stress, how you express affection, and how you handle conflict. Not because he doubts you, but because his unconscious is searching for compatibility. He wants to feel that your emotional presence resonates with his own. When a man takes his time, it is often because he is imagining what life with you would look like, not in fantasy, but in reality. He is trying to see whether your values, temperament, and emotional world can align with his inner truth. Slowness is a sign of seriousness. A man who doesn't care moves quickly because he has nothing to lose. But a man who feels deeply becomes patient, cautious, and quietly devoted. He wants to build something that can last, and the unconscious mind does not rush what it wants to protect. When Carl Jung explored the depths of human connection, he emphasized that love is rarely a surface-level experience. It begins in the unconscious, in the symbolic realms where emotions are shaped long before they appear outwardly. When a man starts developing real feelings for a woman, his inner world responds in a way that is far more complex than simple attraction. It is not just his conscious mind evaluating her qualities. His unconscious is quietly sensing, recognizing, and assigning meaning to her presence. This is why Jung described romantic love as a form of projection, where the deeper self sees something familiar, something needed, or something transformative in the other person. For a man, the slow pace of love often emerges from this deeper psychological process, because the woman he is drawn to becomes a mirror of his inner world, awakening both desire and vulnerability. A woman who touches a man's deeper psyche becomes a symbol of connection, belonging, and emotional refuge. She resonates with parts of him he may not have fully explored. This resonance creates a psychological awakening. Instead of rushing toward her with bold declarations, he steps back into reflection. He begins to observe her not out of caution, but because he feels something powerful inside of himself. His emotions activate layers of memory, instinct, and longing. The unconscious mind responds not with speed, but with depth. He becomes more aware of his own needs, shadows, and fears. He may even feel a sense of inner confusion as the emotional intensity collides with old patterns of self-protection. Jung believed that the individuals who evoke strong feelings act as carriers of psychological energy. They awaken the anima or animus, the inner feminine in a man's psyche that embodies emotion, creativity, intuition, and desire. When this inner figure is activated, a man experiences an emotional pull that feels meaningful and almost spiritual. This is why he moves slowly. The experience is not casual. It is not something he wants to jeopardize with impulsive behavior. He senses that the connection touches something essential within him, something that goes beyond physical attraction or momentary interest. Because of this deep activation, his behavior becomes more introspective. He observes how you speak, how you move, how you express empathy, how you respond to small moments. He is not analyzing you logically, but unconsciously absorbing who you are. The woman who resonates with his deeper self becomes a figure of emotional significance. She is no longer just a person. She becomes a symbol of possibility, a possibility for growth, healing, and intimate partnership. This symbolic importance causes him to slow down, not out of hesitation, but because the energy between you carries weight in his inner world. This inner activation also stirs fear, not fear of you, but fear of being seen too deeply. When a man recognizes a woman as someone who holds emotional power in his life, his defenses become active. Jung referred to these defenses as the shadow, the parts of oneself that hide insecurities, past disappointments, and emotional wounds. When love touches him, the shadow becomes illuminated. He remembers the moments that shaped him, the failures that hurt him, and the fears that taught him to be careful. Slowness becomes a psychological strategy to prevent overwhelming himself or risking vulnerability before he feels ready. At the same time, he experiences desire, not just desire for closeness, but desire for truth, alignment, and emotional harmony. A man drawn at a soul level wants a connection that feels authentic. He wants to know that the bond is not a projection of fantasy, but a genuine resonance between two individual psyches. So he watches your consistency, your energy, your integrity. He wants to see if what he feels is reciprocated in a balanced, healthy way. He sees whether your presence calms him or unsettles him, whether your emotional rhythm harmonizes with his own, and whether there is space for mutual growth. Through this process, both fear and longing coexist. Jung described this duality as the tension of the opposites, the psychological space where true love forms. A man who is falling in love moves slowly because he stands between the part of him that wants to merge and the part of him that wants to protect himself. The woman he loves becomes the bridge between these two forces. She awakens hope and exposes fear at the same time. This creates a deep internal process that must unfold gradually, allowing his conscious and unconscious selves to align. Slowness, therefore, is not uncertainty. It is the inner acknowledgement that something profound is happening. It is his psyche recognizing that the woman before him carries meaning, depth, and emotional truth he cannot ignore. A man who begins to feel something real does not simply react with excitement or quick decisions. Instead, he retreats into a quieter place within himself, a place Jung often described as the inner chamber of reflection. Men are conditioned to appear strong and self-assured, but when emotions touch the deeper layers of the psyche, those layers require time to adjust. This is why he begins to observe, reflect, and measure the connection with more seriousness than he lets you see. His slowness is not a sign of emotional distance, but a sign that his unconscious mind is doing the work of integrating what he feels with who he is. According to Jung, the unconscious forms impressions long before the conscious mind understands them. So while on the outside he may appear calm or even hesitant, inside him there is a surge of symbolic meaning being formed. Your presence awakens something in him, a combination of familiarity, hope, and emotional resonance. This inner recognition makes him pause. He wants to understand what these feelings mean, not just in the moment, but for his identity and his future. A man does not move slowly because he is confused about you. He moves slowly because he is trying to understand the changes happening within himself. This internal reflection is partly instinctive. Men often carry buried emotions, old heartbreaks, memories, unresolved fears that lie dormant until someone new touches them. When a woman reaches these deeper spaces, his inner world doesn't immediately know how to respond. He is measuring whether this connection aligns with his true self, not just his desires. Jung believed that relationships that matter tap into our unconscious patterns, forcing us to look at ourselves in ways that feel both illuminating and intimidating. This is why he begins to watch closely, not just you, but his own reactions. He wants to see how he behaves around you, what emotions rise to the surface, and how deeply he is being affected. This reflective stance also helps him determine whether the connection is psychologically safe. He observes how you respond to stress, how you express affection, how you handle disagreements, and whether your emotional presence makes him feel grounded or anxious. He is not analyzing you with suspicion, but with sincerity. His unconscious is looking for harmony, not perfection. He wants to feel that your presence does not demand performance from him, but allows authenticity. If he senses that he can be himself without fear of judgment, his pace gradually becomes more confident and open. Another layer of this slow movement comes from the desire to avoid projection. Jung emphasized that people often project their fantasies, fears, and unmet needs onto others, mistaking projection for love. A man who truly cares becomes cautious for this very reason. He wants to make sure he is seeing you, not an imagined version of you. He wants to understand who you truly are before surrendering fully to the feelings growing inside him. This need for clarity requires time, and that time shows up as slowness. Reflection also helps him confront emotional contradictions. Love brings joy, but it also brings vulnerability. It awakens hope while exposing fear. When a man starts feeling genuine connection, these contradictory emotions surface. Jung viewed this tension as necessary for psychological growth. A man who moves slowly is working through this tension instead of rushing himself into a place his mind and heart are not yet aligned to enter. He wants to step forward without losing emotional stability. This introspective process is not something he talks about openly. Most men do not articulate their internal world because they are not taught to express emotions through words. Instead, they express them through pacing. Slowness becomes the language of sincerity. Each quiet moment is a sign that he values the connection enough not to treat it recklessly. You will notice this in the way he listens carefully, in the thoughtful pauses before he shares personal details, and in the subtle restraint he shows in order to understand the emotional rhythm between you. By moving slowly, he is also evaluating whether the relationship can support long-term emotional connection. Not just excitement, not just chemistry, but consistency, trust, and psychological compatibility. He is asking himself whether he can share his inner world with you, and whether you have room in your own world for him. This assessment is not logical alone. It is emotional, instinctive, and unconscious. It is the psyche determining whether this bond can grow into something meaningful. Men who care deeply do not rush because deep feelings require grounding. He is not delaying the connection. He is preparing himself for it, making sure that when he steps forward, it is with alignment between his heart, his mind, and his unconscious self. Slowness in a man's emotional journey is often misread as hesitation, but in Jungian psychology, it is a sign that he is undergoing a deep inner process called individuation. Individuation is the psychological movement toward becoming a whole, integrated version of oneself. When a man begins to fall in love, he does not simply feel attraction. He experiences a shift in his inner world. This shift requires him to reconcile different parts of himself, his desires, fears, instincts, and past experiences. Moving slowly is not avoidance. It is the psyche's way of protecting the emerging connection while ensuring that he does not lose his internal grounding. When a woman touches a man emotionally, his conscious and unconscious minds both respond. His conscious mind may feel excitement, curiosity, or admiration, but his unconscious mind is the one that deals with deeper emotional truth. The unconscious holds memories, wounds, longings, and symbolic meanings that shape how he approaches love. If the woman feels significant, his unconscious awakens. This awakening creates a moment of inner reorganization where different parts of him must come into alignment. That alignment takes time. Slowness becomes a natural response because he is not just reacting to a person, he is reacting to what she represents inside him. Individuation involves merging instinct and reason, vulnerability and strength, desire and caution. When a man feels drawn to someone at a meaningful level, these opposing forces become active. One part of him wants to move quickly, to express affection and step into possibility. Another part needs space to make sense of the intensity. Jung described this tension as the meeting point between the self he has been and the self he is becoming. Love, especially early love, initiates this transformation. His slow pace is a sign that the transformation is happening carefully, not impulsively. Many men are taught to hide emotional complexity. They learn to push down fears, ignore insecurities, and stay in control of their feelings. But real affection brings those buried parts to the surface. The woman becomes someone who activates his deeper emotional layers. He begins to feel things that are not easily simplified. This activation pushes him toward individuation because he cannot continue being emotionally closed if he wants to connect authentically. Slowness becomes the bridge between who he was and who he is becoming in the presence of someone who matters to him. This integration process also includes evaluating whether his emotional world aligns with the bond he is forming. A man who is falling in love begins to examine his own patterns. He wonders whether he can offer stability, whether he is emotionally ready, and whether he can share the more vulnerable parts of himself. He does not want to repeat past mistakes or act from unresolved wounds. So he moves slowly to ensure that his actions are not driven by impulse but by clarity. Jung believed that entering a meaningful relationship without inner alignment often leads to projection, confusion, and emotional imbalance. A man who moves slowly is trying to avoid that. He wants his affection to come from a place of truth. Slowness also allows him to step into love with respect for the emotional energy between you. He is not slowing down because he doubts your worth. He slows down because he respects the meaning of the connection. He is allowing time for the bond to settle into something stable, something that can hold the weight of real intimacy. He wants to understand the emotional rhythm of the relationship, how your energies harmonize, and whether the connection feels grounding or overwhelming. This is part of individuation as well, finding balance between his own psyche and the shared emotional space you create together. In this process, he also confronts his own emotional defenses. Love requires openness, and openness requires courage. As he begins to integrate his fears with his hopes, his doubts with his desires, he becomes more capable of offering genuine presence. The slow pace is his way of ensuring that when he shows up, he does so fully, not partially. Slowness, in this sense, becomes a sign of emotional responsibility. He is preparing himself to be the kind of partner his deeper self wishes to be. Individuation changes him. It makes him more attentive, more aware, more intentional. As he integrates different aspects of himself, he approaches the connection with greater sincerity. Every small step he takes is deliberate, grounded, and meaningful because he wants his presence to reflect his true self, not a mask or a temporary emotion. His slow movement is the psyche's way of building something that can last, shaped by awareness rather than impulse. When a man begins to feel something real, he rarely expresses it with loud declarations or dramatic gestures. Instead, his love shows itself through subtle behaviors that reveal where his heart is leaning long before he ever speaks the words out loud. Jung believed that the unconscious communicates through symbols, quiet gestures, and meaningful patterns. So when a man is falling in love, he does not need to announce his feelings. His actions reveal the truth. These actions are not fast or flashy. They appear slowly, intentionally, and with a kind of gentle devotion that is easy to overlook if you do not know what to look for. One of the first signs is emotional presence. When a man's feelings deepen, he becomes more attuned to your emotional state. He listens differently. He remembers things you say in passing, details you didn't even realize you shared. This is the unconscious at work, picking up emotional cues, storing them, and responding in ways that make you feel seen. He doesn't push himself into your world abruptly. Instead, he quietly aligns his actions with what he senses you need. When you speak, he doesn't just hear your words. He tries to understand what lies beneath them. This level of attention is a form of emotional investment, and men do not offer it unless they care deeply. Another expression of his quiet love is steadiness. He shows up for you in consistent, grounded ways. Not in sudden bursts of affection, but through reliable presence. Jung believed that a person's unconscious reveals their true intentions through patterns, not moments. So if a man begins to offer reliability, checking in, supporting you when you are stressed, respecting your boundaries, it is a sign that he has placed emotional value on the connection. His care becomes a daily choice rather than a temporary feeling. He may not say, "I love you" yet, but he behaves in ways that reflect loyalty, respect, and emotional consideration. There is also a protective quality that emerges, not in a possessive or controlling way, but in a gentle awareness of how his actions affect your sense of safety. When a man feels genuine affection, he becomes conscious of his role in your emotional world. He tries not to disappoint you. He thinks before he speaks. He avoids behaviors that could cause unnecessary hurt. This protection is not about dominance, it is about care. It comes from the unconscious realization that your well-being matters to him, that your presence has become meaningful in his life. Another subtle sign is the way he begins to share pieces of his inner world. He may not reveal everything, but he starts letting you into spaces he normally keeps private. This is an unconscious offering of trust. A man who is indifferent does not expose vulnerability. But a man who is falling in love begins to share his thoughts, fears, dreams, and insecurities. He trusts you with the softer parts of himself because he feels emotionally safe with you. This sharing often happens slowly, often in unexpected moments, because the unconscious releases truth gradually, not all at once. Finally, a man in love becomes more intentional with his energy. He is thoughtful about how he communicates, where he invests his time, and how he balances the connection with the rest of his life. Jung believed that when a feeling is rooted in the unconscious, it naturally shapes a person's choices. So he doesn't have to tell you that he is committed. You see it in how he prioritizes you without asking. This intentionality is the clearest sign of deepening love. It shows that the connection is not a passing moment, but something his psyche is beginning to weave into his long-term reality. When a man begins to fall in love, he is not only stepping toward a woman, he is stepping toward a deeper version of himself. Jung believed that real love awakens the unconscious in powerful ways, bringing both light and shadow to the surface. This awakening makes a man more authentic, more open, and more intimately aware of his inner world. As this process unfolds, he becomes quietly devoted in ways that are not loud or dramatic, but deeply meaningful. His behavior shifts because he is no longer navigating the relationship with only logic or desire. He is responding from the core of his evolving self. Love activates the parts of him he usually keeps hidden. These parts include old fears, buried insecurities, unresolved questions, and softer emotions he rarely expresses. When a man feels something real, he cannot maintain emotional masks for long. The connection invites him to show himself without pretense. He begins to drop the armor he uses with others. His tone softens, his walls lower, and his interactions become more genuine. This authenticity is not forced. It is a natural psychological response to feeling emotionally recognized and safe. He is not performing for you. He is allowing you to see who he truly is because the bond feels meaningful. As this authenticity grows, he starts revealing more of his emotional landscape. He no longer hides behind silence or distraction. He communicates more openly, even if his words are not perfect. He talks about his day, his challenges, his hopes, and even his doubts. This sharing is a sign that love is integrating into his inner world. Jung believed that when someone touches the psyche deeply, the unconscious begins to release truth that was previously locked away. A man may share stories from his past he never mentioned before, or express feelings he rarely talks about. These emotional disclosures are not random. They are signs of deepening trust and connection. Love also makes him more vulnerable. This vulnerability is not weakness, but a courageous act of opening his inner world. He allows moments where he admits he is scared of losing you, scared of not being enough, scared of repeating past mistakes. These moments are powerful because men often struggle to reveal fear. When he lets you into those emotional spaces, it shows the depth of his feelings. Jung believed vulnerability was a necessary step in integrating the shadow and stepping into wholeness. So every moment he lets you see his uncertainty is a moment where love helps him grow into a more complete version of himself. Alongside vulnerability, he becomes more devoted in subtle ways. His devotion is not based on grand gestures, but on meaningful consistency. He thinks of your emotions before making decisions. He pays attention to the little things that matter to you. He becomes more conscious of how his actions affect you. This devotion comes from the unconscious recognition that you have become an important figure in his psychological and emotional landscape. His care grows naturally, not because he is trying to impress you, but because love is guiding his behavior from within. Love also inspires him to confront parts of himself he used to avoid. A meaningful connection pushes him to rethink his old patterns, heal emotional wounds, and become more mature. He begins to reflect on who he is and who he wants to be. This self-examination is a sign that the relationship has become a catalyst for personal growth. He wants to be better, not out of obligation, but because love has awakened the part of him that longs for emotional truth and inner balance. As he continues to grow within the connection, he becomes more grounded, more intentional, and more emotionally present. His authenticity deepens, his openness expands, and his devotion becomes steady. Love transforms him quietly from the inside, guiding him toward a more integrated and sincere version of himself. In the end, when a man moves slowly in love, it is not a sign of confusion or disinterest. It is a sign that something meaningful is awakening within him. Jungian psychology teaches us that real love does not rush. It unfolds through the unconscious, through the deeper layers of the psyche where truth, fear, desire, and growth all meet. A man who feels something real doesn't leap forward blindly. He steps with intention. He listens to his inner world. He observes, integrates, and transforms. His slowness is his sincerity. His patience is his depth. His carefulness is his devotion. And every quiet action, every thoughtful pause, every moment of vulnerability reveals a man who is not afraid of love, but who respects its power. A man like this isn't just falling for you. He's preparing himself to love you with his whole, authentic self.